Welcome back to Common Ground, an inside look at Suffolk County. I'm your host, Sheriff Steve Tompkins. Now, on this side of the break, we've got an extraordinary woman who I absolutely admire and adore, and that's Frederica Williams. She is the CEO of Whittier Health Center, and you know it. Everybody knows it. It's got that big, I call it the cathedral to community health. And she does a great job there. So she's here today to talk to us about how she brought that into being, because when she first went over to Whittier, she was in another facility, but she raised the money to get this new brand spanking beautiful facility up and running. And so, Frederica, without any further ado, first and foremost, thank you for coming on. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, and thank you for having me.
Oh,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Good to connect.
So just before we get into the meat and potatoes, how long did it take you to raise the funds and all that it took to get that building up and running?
It took about 8 to 9 years to raise the funds, and then another only 14 months to build the building.
Okay.
So we went through a long process of community needs assessment, understanding the needs of the community, community engagement, and I believe positioning Whittier in a place where we could be an asset to the community, a much more effective organization, getting to understand the social issues in the community that lead to health issues. So I'm glad it took that long, because it gave us an opportunity to build Whittier as a flagship organization that meets the needs of the community, that's focused on public health issues that relate to the community and the social and health issues. And to put all of that together and build this wonderful building that symbolizes all we are, all we have as a community, our potential, our power, our influence, and really being part of the economic development as well, creating jobs, hiring people from the community, and standing tall in the community.
Well, now, I believe you look at the whole body.
Yes.
Talk to us about some of the programs and services that you have at Whittier.
Yeah, we recognize that 50% of what, there's studies that show that 50% of what makes us healthy is our lifestyle. So we are in front of our physician maybe once or twice or thrice a year, and then we're out in the community. It's our lifestyle. Another 20% is the environment. So if you're in an unhealthy environment, and environment is also defined by the people you associate with. So if you're with healthy-minded people, you'll develop healthy attitudes. And the same study shows that only 10% of what makes us healthy is access to healthcare. Healthcare is only 10%. So really what we've done at Whittier is to combine that 50% focusing on behavior modification, lifestyles, giving people the self-care tool, mind, body, and spirit, understanding that we need to provide a holistic care. We need to care for the communities where people are from, the neighborhoods. We have a lot of our patients live in public housing. We need to be a part of that public housing. So for example, in 5 public housing, we've hired a person that works at Whittier, and their title is a social health coordinator. Okay. They can educate us about the issues relating to Lenox Camden, or to the Whittier development, or Alice Taylor, or Mission Main, or Orchard Gardens. So we understand it, and we're developing, tailoring programs that meet the needs. So 50% of our programs are public health, social services, transportation, nutrition, physical fitness, wellness, and then the other 50% is healthcare, because we recognize that if you don't focus on those public health and social determinants of health and the environmental issues, trauma, stress reduction, then we're not able to impact people's health.
Well, you know, so from where I sit, you have a very exciting program with the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department.
Yes, we do.
Tell the folks about what you do with the program. And that actually started years ago when you came to the department for a tour and recognized that there were some health needs there. Talk to us about that.
Actually, this program was, I was in the Lead Boston program in 2003, and one of our days was a visit to the Suffolk House of Corrections, and I heard your predecessor, the sheriff, speak about re-entry issues. I actually listened to a panel of 3 females and 3 offenders who were re-offenders. And these are wonderful people that look like your children or my children. And the issues really are re-entry, not having a good connection to the community. So I worked with Rabbi Shapiro, who used to be at the Suffolk House of Corrections, and a team at Whittier, and also community residents. And we also did a community needs assessment to get a sense of people's interest in a prison release program. At the same time, we were establishing our men's health clinic, and there was a lot of interest in the community to establish the program. So we established this prison release program where we connect with people while they're incarcerated, build a relationship. We actually do an intake so we understand their history before they were incarcerated, their health, education, their needs, their job aspirations, you know, their aspirations for their families. And we surround them with a full continuum of care, whether it's working with a father-friendly program, whether it's working on skills development, mental health, substance abuse, physical health. But most importantly, we have a case manager that is their navigator, that helps them with housing issues. When we survey people while they're incarcerated, the top 2 needs, housing and jobs.
That's right.
So if we want them to focus on their health issues, we need to focus on the things that are priority for them. And that prison release program has really helped to make us a better organization because we've expanded our mental health program through that. Our men's health program is nationally recognized. The substance abuse programs have expanded significantly. We have a trauma center for adults and for children, anger management, programs that we need to support people around housing and jobs and skill development. So, you know, the experiences from those first few clients that we served through this House of Corrections really help us strengthen. And it's just been a wonderful program. It's 10 years old now.
Now, you mentioned 2 of the needs of folks transitioning out, but actually 3 of the needs is also healthcare. So it's housing, employment, and healthcare. And in the absence of those things, either one or all 3, they recidivate. They come back.
Absolutely. And so having that connection, so for example, if someone is on psychotic medication or any diabetes medication, HIV medication, what we do is we help them with the insurance application right while they're incarcerated so that there's no gap when they're released and they're connected to the person at Whittier that helps them get the application process, whether they need a new ID, if they don't have all of the paperwork, we do all of that. And most importantly, whether they have the insurance or not, when they're released, we connect them to care. But also recognizing that housing and getting a job is important.
Absolutely.
And our job is getting them into healthcare is much easier if we look at them from a whole person point of view.
I want to ask you about mental health, but before I go there, when you talk about closing that gap in the continuum of care, what we found is that when folks transition out of our facility, if they don't have a prearranged relationship established, whether it's with healthcare or parole or probation, oftentimes the relationship doesn't really solidify. And so what you did by coming in, establishing these relationships while they were still incarcerated, meant that it was an easier transition for them once they got out. You know, and so I applaud you for that foresight. Talk to me about mental health. You know, oftentimes when I'm at the State House or at City Hall, I'm banging on the table about the need for more money for detox beds and mental health beds. From your perch, what do you see? What do you think about
especially in a community where there's so much stigma around mental health? So what we've done is, one of the things that we've actually further developed our program is we've integrated mental health into primary care. So we have our primary care doctors working as teams, and we have a mental health provider that's a part of that primary care team. So let's say you came in for your physical and you're complaining about headaches and you know, they're all, and based on that, you know, assessment, you know, there's some worry about whether there's an underlying factor of depression. Instead of scheduling you for another visit, we're patient-centered, where the social worker is sitting next to the primary care doctor, and they do what we call that warm handoff, and they're part of the team. But what we've done, of course, we're not an inpatient facility, and we don't have detox bed. We do all of what we do as part of our outpatients. And I'll give you numbers. When I started working at Whittier in 2002, there were only 3 mental health providers. Now we have about 25.
Wow.
And the demand is
25 on staff? Or 25 that you work with?
25 on staff, full-time hired. And what we've done is a lot of mental health providers are hired as per diems, fee-for-service. We pay them a salary because this is very important to what the services we provide. Again, it's looking at that whole person. So we have psychiatrists, psychologists, we've built clinicians, but we also do something interesting that your population find interesting is we do music, drama, and arts therapy, expressive therapy. In our community, it's not everyone that wants to sit behind or on a sofa in talk therapy. We have other ways of expressing ourselves, and music in our culture is a way of expressing therapy. So we use that for children, for seniors, or for adults that are interested in that. So mental health has grown significantly. It is very important. We hear the issues around gun violence, and there's always some underlying factor around mental illness. And so we are trying to remove the stigma. We're also trying to respect the rights of the mentally ill. We're also trying to make it in such a way that they know we value them, we respect them, treating them with dignity and respect. So they have their own suite on the second floor in a new building, but also they know that if they were in the pediatrics department or in adult medicine, they could see a mental health provider.
Well, so, you know, what heartens me about what you're saying is that when dollars were taken away from the mental health hospitals, remember we used to have mental health facilities, but a lot of those have closed down. Unfortunately, the correction facilities have become the new mental health facilities because they showed these folks the door, and then what did you think was going to happen? And so either for loitering or assault and battery or you know, mostly petty theft just to feed themselves, they wind up with us.
And it's the desperation. And that's what we see is most of the men and women that we serve from the House of Correction, there is an underlying mental health issue, or there's some special needs issues that were not addressed when they were children. That's why it's very important for us. We have groups, we do individual therapy. Mental health is a priority in our community. There are people that they have very high rates of trauma. Even just living around violence and worrying about it, or in this economy where people have gone through so many changes. So mental health has been a priority for us, and the outpatient addictions program.
I was just about to ask you about substance abuse and
so we have a Suboxone clinic, and then we have the structured outpatient addictions program where we support people that work. We have a day one and one in the evening, where people that are early in their addictions recovery program can come to a group of like-minded people, a supportive group, as they're going through their recovery. So
you know what interests me about this conversation, what you're telling me here is this. Clearly you're very forward-thinking about what you need to offer your clientele with all that wide array of services and programs. But there also, I get the sense that there's a faith-based component to this that is equally as important. So as you're trying to better and enrich the body, you're trying to do the same with the soul. Talk to me about that.
And so we are not, I mean, I'm a woman of faith. I mean, that's what's grounded me. That's what has brought me this far and kept me strong and given me the fortitude and resilience against all odds. And for me, I see my job as Whittier, not as a job, but part of my ministry, and that's why I take it seriously. And we are also a people of faith, a community of faith, regardless of what your religious background is, Christian, Muslim, we serve all people. And so it's very important for us to work with people, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through prayers, whether it's through yoga, to really just still themselves. Because a lot of people, high blood pressure, for example, a lot of stress. And we're teaching people stress reduction techniques. And so one of the things that we do around our faith, this will be the 10th year that I'm hosting the Whittier Street annual gospel concert event at the Berkeley Performance Center.
Which are very, very,
it's fun.
It's a lot of fun, but very successful.
It's very successful. It's coming up on November 23rd, and this is a woman from an Anglican church that's enjoying gospel music. But what it does